So you want the beach life, sand between your toes, salty air, sunsets that look like a travel ad. But here's the problem. Most beach towns want your entire savings account, your left kidney, and maybe your firstborn child. But what if I told you there are still U.S. coastal towns where you can live like you're on vacation without selling an organ? Yeah, they exist. Real beach towns with home prices under $350,000, some under $200,000, and rents cheaper than a Cram City studio. We're talking about quiet fishing towns, artsy Gulf Coast escapes, and even boardwalk cities where condos are cheaper than a year of Manhattan rent. Sure, some of them come with trade-offs. Think mosquitoes the size of pigeons or casinos across the street from your morning coffee shop. But if you want ocean air on a budget, these places are absolute steals. So grab your sunscreen, your Zillow app, and maybe a mosquito net. Here are 10 U.S. coastal towns, so affordable you'll think you're cheating the system. Deerfield Beach, Florida. South Florida without the Miami price tag. Think Florida beaches are only for retirees with six-figure pensions? Think again. Deerfield Beach gives you that classic South Florida vibe. White sand, palm trees, turquoise water, without Miami's wallet-melting chaos. Median home price? Around $280,000, which sounds steep until you realize that's half of what you'd pay in Fort Lauderdale, just 20 minutes south. Condos? You can still snag one under $200,000 if you don't mind 1980s charm. Translation, popcorn ceilings. Rent? Around $2,000 a month for a two-bedroom near the beach, which is cheap by Florida standards. Groceries and utilities are higher than national averages, but hey, you're not moving here for bargain milk. You're moving here to walk barefoot on the sand in January. The beach is spotless calm and way less touristy than Fort Lauderdale. There's a fishing pier, boardwalk restaurants, and even actual parking, a Florida miracle. The bad, this isn't a party town. If you want nightlife, you're driving south, and good luck with I-95 traffic. Still, picture this. You wake up, sip coffee on a balcony while watching the sunrise over the Atlantic, then stroll to the beach barefoot. Your friends up north are scraping ice off their windshield, and you're arguing about whether flip-flops count as shoes. One local said it best, it's not cheap by Mississippi standards, but for Florida, this is stealing. Would you trade high-rise Miami chaos for small-town beach mornings? Deerfield Beach makes that decision a lot easier. Atlantic City, New Jersey, boardwalk life on a budget. When you think Atlantic City, you probably picture casinos, neon lights, and bachelor parties that end with bad decisions. But here's the secret. Living here is dirt cheap for a beach town. Median home price? Around $230,000. Condos? You can snag some under $200,000, and yes, that's for a place within walking distance of the ocean. Rent? Around $1,200 to $1,500 a month, which is laughably low for East Coast beachfront living. Compare that to New York, where you're lucky to rent a closet for that price, and suddenly Atlantic City starts looking like a genius move. You get miles of actual beach, the famous boardwalk, and nonstop entertainment. Plus, grocery and gas prices are way lower than other East Coast cities. The bad. Crime can be sketchy in certain neighborhoods, and if you're looking for peace and quiet, this isn't it. There's always some kind of party, event, or casino promo happening, even on a Tuesday. Still, picture this. You're sitting on your balcony, ocean breeze rolling in, sipping coffee while watching joggers on the boardwalk. Sure, there's a guy yelling about blackjack odds down the street, but your rent is paid and you're living by the beach, not dreaming about it. As one local put it, Atlantic City's not perfect, but I can see the ocean from my kitchen window and I'm not broke. Would you trade suburban calm for a cheap beach condo and 24/7 energy? Atlantic City is tempting if you can handle a little chaos. Port Richey, Florida, Gulf Coast sunsets on a bargain budget. If you've ever wanted Florida Gulf Coast sunsets without Tampa prices, Port Richey is your loophole. This little town sits just 45 minutes north of Tampa, giving you easy access to big city jobs and shopping while keeping housing prices refreshingly low. Median home price? Around $230,000, with plenty of small single-family homes dipping under $200,000. Rent? Around $1,200 to $1,400 a month, and that's for something close to the water. The vibe here is laid back, almost sleepy. Locals fish off docks, take their boats out on the Pythlatchescody River, try saying that 3 times fast, and spend evenings watching the sun sink into the Gulf. It's Florida living without the Miami chaos or the Clearwater traffic. But it's not perfect. Port Richey has its quirks. Crime rates are higher in certain pockets, and if you're expecting white sand beaches, you'll need to drive a bit south. This is more of a river meets Gulf lifestyle than classic touristy beachfront. Still, picture this. You're sipping a $4 beer at a waterside bar, fishing boats cruising past, and your rent is so reasonable you almost feel guilty. One resident summed it up perfectly. It's not fancy, but I'd rather have a cheap house and a boat dock than a condo I can't afford in Clearwater. Would you trade a trendy Florida zip code for cheaper waterfront living and slower-paced days? Port Richey is Florida on a budget, and that's the whole point. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, endless shoreline, surprisingly low prices. If you want to live where other people vacation and actually afford it, Myrtle Beach is your ticket. Known for its 60 miles of sandy shoreline, golf courses, and boardwalk fun, this tourist town surprisingly has home prices starting around $320,000 for single-family houses and condos, under $200,000 if you don't mind being a few blocks from the water. Rent? Around $1,200 to $1,600 a month, which is shockingly cheap for a major beach destination. The cost of living, while slightly higher than South Carolina's average, is still far lower than most East Coast beach towns. The good? Endless beach days, tons of entertainment, and a decent variety of restaurants that aren't going to bankrupt you. If you're into golf or fishing, you'll never run out of things to do. The bad? It's a tourist magnet. Expect traffic in peak season, crowded boardwalks, and the occasional spring break energy, even when you're just trying to grab groceries. Still, picture this. It's a Tuesday, you finish work, and instead of sitting in traffic, you take a quick drive to the beach for a sunset walk. You grab fresh seafood for dinner, and your monthly housing cost is less than half of what you'd pay in Florida for the same view. One local said it best, you put up with the tourists, but you wake up to the ocean every day. Worth it. Would you deal with crowds if it meant living where most people can only vacation? Myrtle Beach makes a strong case. Ocean Springs, Mississippi. So, you want a beach town that doesn't feel like a tourist trap or a retirement cliche? Ocean Springs, Mississippi is where you get Gulf Coast charm without the Florida chaos. But let's get real. It's not the dirt cheap secret it used to be. Right now, the median home price is around $258,000, still way below most coastal markets, but climbing. Zillow pegs average values closer to $272,000, and new listings are creeping toward the $300,000 range. Rent? About $1,000 to $1,300 a month, and that's for a decent-sized cottage or a small house near the action. So, what makes it worth it? The vibe. This place is all about oak-lined streets, art galleries, and colorful boutique shops that feel more like Key West than Mississippi. On weekends, locals sip coffee at sidewalk cafes, browse pottery markets, and stroll to the beach for a Gulf sunset. And the cost of living is still about 20% below the national average, which means your money stretches further here than in almost any other U.S. coastal town. The trade-offs? Jobs are limited, mostly healthcare, education, or running a local shop. If you want tech salaries, keep dreaming. And yes, hurricane insurance isn't cheap, so factor that in. But picture this. You're walking under moss-covered oaks, seafood tacos in one hand, a cheap iced coffee in the other. The Gulf breeze hits, the sun's dipping low, and your rent doesn't make you cry. Ocean Springs isn't a jackpot flip town anymore, but for laid-back coastal life under $300,000, you could do a lot worse. Corpus Christi, Texas? You want beach living with actual city amenities, but without paying Florida or California prices. Corpus Christi, Texas is your loophole. This Gulf Coast city gives you miles of beaches, legit taco joints, and big city conveniences, all for a fraction of what you'd expect. The numbers? Median home price sits around $230,000, and you can still find condos and smaller single-family homes under $220,000 if you're quick. Rent? Around $1,000 to $1,300 a month for a decent two-bedroom. And if you're okay with being a little inland, you can go cheaper. Cost of living? About 10 to 15% below the national average. What's the vibe? It's a mix of laid-back coastal living and working-class energy. You'll see families fishing on piers, surfers hitting the waves at Padre Island, and plenty of locals hanging out at dive bars, eating some of the best seafood and Tex-Mex you'll ever find. The downsides? Don't expect picture-perfect white sand. This is more rugged Gulf coastline than postcard beach. Hurricanes are a risk, so insurance isn't cheap. And if you're looking for quiet small-town charm, this is still very much a city with traffic, strip malls, and oil refineries in view. But picture this. You're off work, grabbing $2 tacos, then driving 15 minutes to catch the sunset over the bay. Meanwhile, someone in California is paying triple your mortgage for a view of their neighbor's fence. Corpus Christi might not be glamorous, but if you want city perks and beach life on a budget, it delivers. Surfside Beach, South Carolina. Want Myrtle Beach vibes without the chaos of tourists fighting over parking spots? Surfside Beach, South Carolina is the quieter, family-friendly neighbor. And yes, it's still surprisingly affordable for a coastal town. The numbers? Median home price hovers around $350,000, which sounds high until you realize Myrtle Beach condos are hitting $400,000 plus in 2025. Plus, older beach cottages in Surfside can still be found under $300,000 if you don't mind some vintage charm. Rent? Around $1,400 to $1,800 a month for a two-bedroom close to the water. The vibe here is chill. Surfside calls itself the family beach, and it shows, think clean sand, quiet streets, and golf carts instead of bumper-to-bumper tourist traffic. Restaurants are mostly local spots serving seafood platters instead of overpriced cocktails, and you'll actually get to know your neighbors instead of watching weekly Airbnb turnover. The trade-offs? Well, if you're looking for nightlife, you'll have to drive into Myrtle Beach. And don't expect this place to stay quiet forever. More out-of-staters are buying up vacation homes, so prices are creeping upward. But picture this. You're sipping sweet tea on a porch swing, golf carts hum by, and you can walk to the beach in 5 minutes without dodging drunk spring breakers. One local said it best. It's like Myrtle Beach, but you can actually sleep at night. If you want coastal Carolina living without the party town energy, Surfside is the smarter play. Rockport, Texas, quaint fishing town with colorful cottages and dirt-cheap seafood. If you want a coastal town that feels more like a laid-back fishing village than a tourist circus, Rockport, Texas should be on your radar. Known for its colorful cottages, art galleries, and insanely good seafood, Rockport is one of the Gulf Coast's most charming and still relatively affordable towns. The numbers? Median home price is around $316,000, but you can still find smaller bungalows and fixer-uppers under $250,000. Rent? Around $1,200 to $1,500 a month, and that's for something close enough to smell the salt air. Compared to Texas's bigger beach cities, Rockport feels like a steal. The good? It's quiet, scenic, and community-oriented. Locals spend weekends fishing, kayaking in Aransas Bay, or strolling through the small but vibrant downtown art scene. The seafood is so fresh, you'll start questioning why you ever bought frozen shrimp in your life. The bad? Jobs are limited. Most people here work in tourism, fishing, or are already retired. And while it's gorgeous, this is still hurricane country, so get ready to budget for wind insurance. Still, picture this. You're eating fish tacos at a dockside cafe, watching pelicans dive for dinner, and your monthly mortgage is less than what someone in Austin pays for a cramped apartment. One local summed it up. You trade Target for tackle shops, but I can fish off my back porch, so I'm not complaining. If you're okay with slower living and the occasional storm prep, Rockport's charm is worth every penny. Pascagoula, Mississippi, one of the cheapest true beach towns in America. If your dream is to live by the beach without selling your soul or your 401k, then Pascagoula, Mississippi might just be the last real deal on the U.S. coast. Let's start with the headline. Median home price? About $150,000. Yes, you heard that right. In 2025, on the coast, you can actually find single-family homes under $150,000 and rents in the $800 to $1,200 range. In a world where beachfront property usually comes with $1 million price tag and a $14 smoothie habit, Pascagoula feels like cheating. So what's the catch? Well, this is a working-class shipyard town, not a glossy tourist haven. You won't find luxury resorts or curated Instagram brunch spots here. But what you will find is a tight-knit community, a real-deal beach, and a riverfront downtown that's slowly being revived. Locals fish off the pier, kayak the bayou, and catch live music in the park on weekends. The beach is sandy, uncrowded, and yes, walkable from town. It's not glitzy, but it's real, livable, and affordable. The downside? Industry jobs dominate. So unless you're in shipbuilding, healthcare, or remote work, you may have to get creative. And like most Gulf towns, storms are a fact of life. Just ask your insurance agent. Still, picture this. You're grilling on your porch 3 blocks from the beach, your mortgage is under $1,000, and the ocean breeze doesn't cost extra. Pascagoula's not flashy, but in 2025, it might be the last honest beach town bargain left. Westport, Washington. Coastal Pacific Northwest living without the price gouge. Think you can't afford a Pacific Northwest beach town unless you're a tech bro with stock options? Think again. Westport, Washington is like if Oregon and Alaska had a quiet, affordable beach baby, foggy, rugged, and weirdly cheap. Median home price? About $310,000. But scroll Zillow long enough and you'll spot listings under $250,000. Some even close to $200,000 if you're not picky. Rent? Expect $1,100 to $1,500 a month, depending on proximity to the beach and how many seashells your landlord thinks add value. So what's the deal? Westport is a fishing town first, a surf spot second, and a tourist attraction, barely. You've got long stretches of wild beach, a historic lighthouse, and actual waves that draw die-hard surfers in wetsuits year-round. No, really. Wetsuits. It's cold. But that's the charm. It's not trying to be cute. There's no t-shirt shop every 10 feet. No overpriced seafood shacks pretending frozen shrimp is gourmet. It's locals, loggers, surfers, and retirees who like their peace and quiet served with salt spray and fog. Jobs? Mostly in fishing, tourism, and you guessed it, remote work. This is a great spot for someone who wants to unplug from big city madness and actually hear the ocean from their porch. Picture this. You wake up, fog's rolling in, the waves are crashing, and your biggest decision is whether to go clamming or nap until the sun maybe shows up. Westport's not glamorous. It's not warm, but it's real, it's coastal. And in the PNW, it's shockingly affordable. So, if you thought beach life was only for millionaires, maybe it's time to zoom out on that map.